Good afternoon. Day 2, still vlogging. Welcome to Tiger Strength Training. I am Jared, the Tiger. No, I can't. No, that was a joke. I don't mean that. Sorry about that. Anyway, heading out to go to the gym. And what I thought I'd talk about today a little bit is the difference in what my goal in the gym is and what most people's goal in the gym should be. So this is something that a lot of people make a mistake, is most people are new, most people are novices, most people have a lot of potential physical adaptation out in front of them. And people don't really give a damn about what someone else has to say until they've accomplished a lot. Sometimes it's because they've coached a lot of people. Most of the time it's because they have accomplished a lot with their own training. Now, what that means is a couple of things. Either this person is genetically such a different specimen than them that it just doesn't matter. It might also mean that their training, if they are training intelligently, that their training has evolved and progressed a lot over time, and now looks very different than how it looked when they were at the point where the viewer is looking. Or number 3, this person has paid someone else to manage all that for them. But the point is, it's going to be very rare that someone who is new, someone who is a novice, like a general strength athlete, is going to look at what even like a mid to late intermediate is doing and get a tremendous amount of value from that. Now, the caveat to that is that if you are new, any amount of stress is going to be enough stress to produce an adaptation. Like, you're going to get stronger and bigger and leaner from doing pretty much anything. But the problem with that is that you could be getting stronger, bigger, leaner, whatever, a lot faster than that. In the starting strength world, we talked a lot about the stress recovery adaptation cycle, and we separated lifters, athletes, into classifications based on their training age, or how long that stress recovery adaptation cycle takes to turn over. And so basically you go work out, and that's a stress on your body. And then you go home and you rest, you recover from that workout by eating and sleeping and allowing time to pass. And then at some point in the future, you will have adapted to that stress and now are stronger, bigger, whatever. And for very new people, the younger you are, the less you've trained, the more male you are. The more genetically gifted you are at training, the shorter that time is going to be. But the bigger you are, the stronger you are, the longer you've been training, the more female you are, the older you are, that cycle is going to be a lot longer. And for really new people, it's like 48 hours or less. So basically you can go in and you can perform a workout, and you go home and you eat and you sleep and you come back 48 hours later, do the exact same workout at a greater intensity, and you're now able to do it. But as you get bigger and stronger, yada yada yada, that cycle stretches out, and not only does it get longer, but it becomes more complicated. But anyway, so what I'm doing in the gym now, as a late intermediate lifter, is I've got 3 goals whenever I go into the gym. And goal number 1 is to, like, the really simple version is I just need to move some heavy weight. I need to move some tonnage around. And what that tonnage is calculated at a rate of progression based on how strong I am and how strong I want to be at some point in the future. And that's the difference between training and exercise. So exercise is something that you do for the benefit of having done that exercise. So like, you go get sweaty because it feels good to break a sweat or whatever. But training is when you piece together lots of pieces of exercise to accomplish some goal in the future. So like the tonnage that I move, the weight that I go in to move, has a very particular role to play in a larger system. That's the first thing that I do. And the second thing that I do is there's a certain amount of volume that I need to perform within like my movement patterns, like my big important movement patterns, like the squat, the press, the bench press, the deadlift, etc. There's a certain amount of volume of each of those lifts I want to perform per week. And the lighter the lift is, like the lower the absolute weight that I could use in that lift, the higher the number of reps the higher the number of sets I want to get in that per week. there's a minimum number that I want to exceed every single week. And because of the way that I train, I do it in one day. So like today is going to be row day, and I will do, for me, it's going to be 9. I'm going to do 9 sets of a row before I ever do anything else, because that's the number that I want to hit per week. So that's number 2. And then number 3 is I want to get a pump. I want to get a sick, just mischievous, radical, diabolical pump. And that's new to me. Like you've heard me talking about this before, but I've never really trained bodybuilding before. I've never really trained hypertrophy before. This is all really new. But what I'm discovering is that I don't know mechanically, scientifically, if the pump actually makes you bigger and stronger over time. Like I've heard some debate about it stretches out the fascia, and because the fascia is more stretched out, you can whatever. But what definitely is true is that the pump is a fantastic proxy that a certain amount of work has been done within a certain amount of time. Like it's a work per unit of time measurement. And that's extremely useful when it comes to isolating your movement. So we'll get to this more in a second when we talk about what your objective should be as a brand new lifter. But let's go ahead and talk about it now. So if you're a brand new lifter, really the only thing that you should be concerned about doing is you should progress every time you go into the gym. And if you're like an old female, then you know what I mean, or very super unathletic, then the amount of time, you still have a certain number of weeks or months where you can get away with going into the gym, squatting X number of pounds, going home, coming back 48 hours later, adding 5 pounds and doing it again. You can still do that, even if you're the furthest away from the most likely person to get a lot out of that. It's true for essentially every human being that you can do that. And we could probably do a whole talk just about this, but the real quick point that I want to make is whenever you require so little stress to produce a huge adaptation, it behooves you to consider efficiency. Like, what are the most efficient lifts for me to pick if I'm only going to do 2 to 3 lifts a day? Like, what should I do? And you think about, okay, let's pick lifts that are efficient and move the weight efficiently. But when it comes to these isolation movements, in contrast, these bodybuilding movements, it's kind of the opposite. You're kind of looking, how can I move the weight as inefficiently as possible with a single joint? Like, how can I perform the maximum amount of work and do less? Like, how can I perform more work with less weight, or more work with fewer reps, or more work with fewer muscles? So that way you're stacking up the stress on very particular individual things. So that may be a lot, and it may not be super organized, but basically the point of what I'm trying to say is, if you don't have a coach, or if you haven't been programming your lifts for yourself successfully for years and years and years, then you really have no business doing even what I do, but especially not like a model or an athlete or a fitness influencer or whatever. You have no business doing anything like that. Always a coach helps. Like, if you're brand new, the value of a coach is making sure that you're learning how to perform the movements effectively and safely. And then the value of a coach changes over time. The value of a coach, once you've been lifting for a while, becomes managing an increasingly more sophisticated program. But in the beginning, you don't need to do a lot to make an incredible amount of progress. So just so you know, and that's where the popularity and success of programs like the Starting Strength Novice Linear Progression comes from. The Grayskull progression, Strong Lifts 5x5. These are all very similar programs. GZCL I'm a huge fan of that, and that's very similar as well, although with a little bit more focus on base building and broadening your foundation, which is again something else we can talk about later. But the point is, if you're new, if you don't fall into one of those categories I mentioned before, you go to the gym on Monday, you squat, you overhead press, you deadlift, you go home, you wait 48 hours, you eat a lot of groceries, you get a lot of sleep, you come back on Wednesday, you squat, you press or bench press and you deadlift with a little bit more weight. And that's going to work. That's going to work for a long time. And you're going to be a bigger, stronger, leaner, healthier person if you do those things. Yeah, I think that's all I got today. Still feeling a little under the weather. It feels really good to get out and about. I do not feel like getting out. I went to the gym. But as soon as I got out into the weather and got in the car, I started feeling a lot better. Yesterday, I noticed that I felt really bad between sets. Like I was having trouble catching my breath, and I was not very motivated to go hard on the set. But as soon as the set began, I felt great. And I was distracted and overwhelmed by the adrenaline and the cortisol of doing the hard thing, doing the heavy thing. And nothing I did yesterday was challenging. It all felt very doable. And this is my most difficult week of the training month ahead of me. And I honestly had no problem getting in and making it happen. I didn't get, well, so remember, there's 3 things I wanted to do in the gym. So the first thing was I needed to move the tonnage, the progression over time. And that was no problem. And then I needed to perform the volume in my compound lift, and that was no problem. But getting the pump, though, that was hard because, man, that's just, maybe it's because it's new to me and I'm still collecting a lot of experiential firsthand data about it, or maybe it was because I'm feeling, kind of sick. But it was really difficult to be like, okay, let me focus on the things in this lift to make it hurt. Let me adjust the lift to make it hurt more. And I don't mean hurt like sharp pain, like muscle tearing off from bone. I just mean like mind muscle connection, pumping the muscle up, putting it in a mechanically inefficient place to experience a lot of stress. And I walked out of the gym. It was squat day, and it was my quads and my calves. And my quads are sore today because I did the work, but I did not feel like I got a pump. So I'm going to be thinking about that a lot today, particularly for my lats. So I'll do rows today, and then I'll do my lat work, and I'll do my rear delt work. And particularly for my lats, I'm going to try to ignore the voice in my head telling me, Jerry, you sick son of a gun, you got to go home. I'm going to try to get a dastardly painful little pump before I come home. Wish me luck, I guess that's it. So as far as the coaching goes, by the way, still, we got a lot of it up and running. A free trial on the app just ended last night. So the app is officially up and running today. And I didn't charge anybody anything during that first month. Because I wasn't paying anything yet. And besides, I didn't want to, like, you had to pay extra on top of what I'm paying for the app for the merchant services to kick in. And I didn't want to pay for that yet, especially while I'm still working everything out. But today, not only did I have 2 new people sign up, which I'm really excited about, but I started sending out the first invoices. Like, hey, this is, what it is. This is how often the billing is going to be. And basically, we have a once a month option and a twice a month option. Whatever's easiest for the client. And I'm really excited about it. I wish that I could think of more ways that feel less slimy to get it in front of people's eyes very often. I don't want to pay for a bunch of ads and try and figure out how to make good ads and pay a bunch of money to get ads out in front of everybody. I wish I could figure out a way to just get it in front of people without being manipulative or without being slimy. Because I really don't want to push it on anyone. And I really don't want to work with someone who got tricked into working with me. I want them to see the value that I can provide. I want them to see how much they might enjoy having a business relationship with me. And want to move forward because it's the obvious thing for them to do. That's what I think it was like when I coached in person. That's what I hope it was like anyway. So yeah, I'm always on the lookout for that. So if anybody who's watching this has any ideas about how I can do that, let me know. And then of course, if you or someone I'd love to help you too. But anyway, so the 2 people who are starting today, classic starting strength novice linear progression is how they're going to begin. They have a lot of experience training that way. They've gotten quite strong in the past. The fella who's starting today He was pulling in the low to mid 400 pounds when he did it before. He never really got past the linear progression either. He was pretty much always been a novice, but he's a big, strong guy. And as a novice, he was pulling over 400 pounds, which is just awesome. He's still a bigger, stronger guy. So I think he's going to get back there real quick. His wife's going to be training too, and that's really wonderful. They've got a little bit less time than a lot of people do, but that's probably something that a lot of people have going on. So they're going to be doing 4 days instead of 3 so they can have smaller workouts. So basically they'll squat and press today, and they'll bench press the day of tomorrow, Wednesday off, and repeat on Thursday and Friday. And just like I mentioned before, they'll, whatever weight they figure out how to squat today, they'll do for a full workout on Thursday, and then starting on Monday, they're just going to add 5 pounds and do it again. Maybe 10 for him. Maybe 10 for him. We'll see. But yeah, that's how it's going to go. Let's see. What else can I tell you about before I let you go? Halloween's tomorrow. Really excited about that. Both of the girls have school tomorrow, and I took the day off yesterday and today. Today and tomorrow from my 9 to 5. I thought this was going to be a day where I would work on the business and, you know, catch up on spooky movies and video games and just have a good time. But because I've been sick, I've pretty much just been laying around. But I'm not going to miss training. I'm not going to miss training. I will keep my social distance and disinfect the equipment after I use it, but I'm not going to stay home. And you'll hate me. But the cost I would pay, I don't want to get into it. I don't want to get into it. I'll keep social distance and I'll disinfect my equipment. I won't lick anybody. Yeah. What else do I got for you? Oh, okay. So here's something I wanted to talk about a little bit too, and it was like, where do you find sources of information to learn from? So yesterday I talked a little bit about how to evaluate information and how to evaluate sources of information to figure out if it's good, if it's worth learning from. And truthfully, everything's worth learning from. The more that you know, the more information that you take in, the more knowledgeable you become, the better your intuition becomes. The more experience you have, the better you become at like sifting through the bad and the good. So the more information, the better. As long as you just don't assume whenever information comes in that it's going to be good information. You don't ever want to do that. But you know, how many people agree with the information? How successful are the people who use the information? Does it make sense to you? Is there data backing it up? And then what is your experience with it if you try it, you know? And this guy out there, Sam Sulek, who basically just did this, right? He just vlogged and put himself out there. And it's not even clear to me that he's trying to build a business. He just really enjoys getting big. And a lot of people were really attracted, like magnetically to that vibe that he was putting out there. He just really enjoyed getting big and accidentally accumulated a wonderful amount of knowledge. And you know, the thing is, if you were to write down on I've been going through and watching his videos from the beginning just because I want to learn. If someone has something to teach me, particularly about fitness and nutrition, I want to consume all of it with a critical eye, of course, but I still want whatever information's out there. I think that if I had to write down on paper in a succinct but precise way everything that I've learned from Sam in about, I don't know, 30 to 40 hours of videos that I've seen, maybe 1 sheet of paper, 1.5 sheet. But that's not fair to Sam and what I got from watching those videos, because like absorbing information from someone, like in the process of using that information, is so much different than just being given the Cliff Notes. You absorb it so much better and you appreciate it so much more in that context. And I don't think that I learned anything from Sam that I didn't know just being peripherally in the strength training world. But it has dramatically changed how I've gone about training myself for hypertrophy since I began watching his videos. Just absorbing information like through osmosis, you know, just letting it diffuse into me. Anyway, I'm at the gym. I don't want to make these videos too long. thank you so much. I'm so grateful right now for all the abundance that comes to me easily and effortlessly on a consistent daily basis. I'm so thankful for you. Love you guys. See you tomorrow.